Welcome. Today I would like to discuss the automapper for C Sharp and especially .NET Core. So let's get started. So a lot of times in a .NET Core app, you have an issue where you're mapping some DTO to some other object, or you need to map it to the domain models and so on. And that's actually a frequent occurrence. So let's get started, and I'll give you an example on how to do this. So the easiest way to show to you as to what we will be doing, I let me show you some existing code, and we will modify it to use the automapper. So now this is a controller I have for the values controller. Basically, when I come there, I will return some string in array of strings, and the information I'm returning is the author of the book, the name of the book, and the published date as a string. So that's where it is. And the way to construct a book is you just call this constructor and it will construct a book. And we can take a quick look at the definition. Basically, it is setting some properties such as name, author, and published date. And it has some other properties such as country, which is not really being set. But that's what the book does. So one way we would like to modify this values controller is we would like to, instead of, let's say, for example, we are accessing a database and we're not really getting a book, but we are getting a paperback. And paperback has similar properties, but some properties might be different. So what I would really like to do is, instead of this, I like to basically set up a paperback. So let me modify this code quickly, and let's just do that. So what we would end up doing here is we get a paperback from our database, and it has some properties, and we can look at the properties here as well to do a quick. So you can see it has properties such as author, date, and name. But you would notice the date is different from what we had in our book, which had the published date. But it is the same thing for these illustrations and these purposes. So let's say you wanted to do this thing where you get a paperback, and then to map is very straightforward. What you're going to do is get an instance of the IMapper, and the instance is basically coming into through dependency injection in .NET Core in the controller itself, or you could do it in some other mechanism, but I'm just doing it here. So we have an instance of the mapper. So we were going to say mapper.map, and we want to get an object of book because this expects an object of type book, and so we use the generic method this way, and then we can supply our thing that we want to convert source to destination paperback here. So that should really do the job. And then what you can also do in the startup to bootstrap how to get this mapper, basically you have to add one line of code, and I'm going to add that for now so you can see it, and we can look at it together. Basically, you are adding automapper, and you're saying that scan all the assembly that exist in this app, and add all the profiles to it. So what does a profile look like? So let me quickly show you a book profile, and I would kind of go walk you through this. Basically, I've just created a map. We have a way to go from paperback to book. You create a class, you could name it anything. I'm just calling it book profile, and it would inherit from profile, the automapper.profile. So this is the simplest way to create a map. And sometimes it's not sufficient because there may be some differences in few fields that you need to take care of. So that's one way to get started. I do want to mention to you the package I use here, so it would be easy for you if you have to debug this. And take a quick look at the packages. It's called the automapper dot extension dot microsoft dot dependency injection. So this is the most straightforward way of doing this. So let's say you do this profile and everything is good. What I would highly recommend is to basically create a unit test to be able to see if this is going to work for you. So I have created a unit test here, and I'm going to walk you through the unit test. Basically, you can do it in many ways, but one of the ways I'm doing is when assembly is initialized, I will call my book profile. And then I will call a configuration, and we will say that we want to add this profile to our configuration. And then from this configuration, we can create a mapper. So we get an instance of the mapper. We got the instance of a mapper. And to check all of the profiles that all the properties are mapped accordingly and all that, the easiest way to do is just this. On the instance, you can call configuration provider and assert configuration is valid. So that's the easiest way. So let's say if we did all this and we want to run our test to see what problems it is going to face or encounter. And so I'm going to run this test for a second. Oh, it is running. I need to run this test, not the. Okay. So here you can see it is complaining that we have two unmapped properties such as publish date and country. And that is going to be a problem. And then you can see the source is paperback and the destination is book. And that's where it is finding a problem. So after looking at this, we can see we have to try to fix those two fields before we can move forward. And I've already prepared a sample way of doing this for you, so you can check it. So what I'm saying is when we're converting from paperback to the book for the member country, we want to just ignore this property and we don't need to map it. So that's what this is for member. Other option I had is when you have published date, it should just map from date because that's just a little bit different name that we have in one model, paperback as opposed to book. So that should fix those two things. And let me rerun the test again and see if it fixes it. And give it a second, and hopefully the test should pass. So you can see the test pass. So now you have some confidence in your mapping that it should work. So if that is the case, what we can do is we can try to run our program, which is a web AI basically in the values controller. And we should be able to see some mapping into the book and it returning the result back to us in a way. So it is basically listening as HTTP localhost 5000. And I'm going to just send a web API information to it and see what turns back. And here you can see the mapping was correct. We got the three things we expected. So this is actually a very good way for mapping objects from one to another, and you only need to worry about the fields which have some differences. And you would also notice that it automatically ignores casing, which is kind of nice in this case at least, because I don't really need to worry about name is basically I'm saying is same as the lowercase name. So see, it was able to map that automatically. So thank you for watching this short screencast, and I'm going to add this video to my website under C# automapper in however minute it took to record this video. And you have a great day. Thanks.